AIW for not wanting to stay friends with my ex? Hey guys, I'm posting from a new account because my friends know my main. English is not my native language, so I apologize if there's any mistakes. I, 27F, was casually dating Theo, 24M, since December 23rd. We would meet 4 to 5 times every month, and we're taking things slow. We had both just started dating after long relationships at that moment, so we didn't want to get into a serious relationship too fast. Theo is a very reserved and quiet guy, incredibly smart and sweet. I enjoyed spending hours just talking and listening to his stories. We would mostly meet at his place, but he stayed at mine a few times, which I don't usually feel comfortable with. It was always the same. Meet around 9 to 10 p.m., and we would spend the night together and have breakfast in the morning before walking to my work or his campus. The connection we started to develop was strong but felt so easy. Like without trying, we were completely comfortable with each other. I'm usually someone who feels insecure, but with him, I felt completely safe and confident in my own skin to the point of letting him stay at my place. I usually can't share my bed, like at all. He would say that I made him feel the good kind of nervousness. It was hard for him to get out of his comfort zone, but with me was easy and simple. We even started talking about becoming exclusive and taking things more seriously because we both cared deeply for the other. Well, since mid-April I felt like he was becoming distant, which was okay because he is a master's student and his career is very demanding. Plus, he is an international student with a scholarship, so he needs to keep certain grades to afford staying and live here. So I didn't push to spend much time together or talk as much. My schedule at work also changed, so I couldn't keep coming for late nights because I had the morning shift, but we kept trying to meet whenever it was possible. Up to this point, we never had any kind of disagreement or fight. I was even helping him find a new place to share with his best friend. Until now, he was co-housing with other 5 people. In May, I met one of his roommates at a party, Claudia, 24F. It was random, and I didn't even find out they share a place until the 3rd time I saw her. We became extremely close and started to hang out 2 to 3 times a week. She loves partying. I haven't met someone who enjoys it as much as she does, and to be completely honest, I love that. I was in an abusive 5Y relationship where I wasn't allowed to go out, and for some reason after we broke up, I would still keep myself from enjoying my freedom, but with Claudia was so natural. 3 weeks ago, I was out with Claudia when Theo texted. He wanted to meet because 2 weeks had passed since we saw each other last. I explained I was out, and he offered I could come after the party. Around 1 to 2 a.m. I double-checked if it was still okay to come to his place. He said it was. Went back with Claudia at 3:30 a.m. and she let me in. In the morning, he asked to meet on Wednesday for dinner and stay the night, which I gladly agreed to. On Wednesday around 5, he says that some friends wanted to celebrate that exams were over. He still had 1 exam left, and most of them were going back to their country's Erasmus program. So was the last chance to celebrate together. I told him we could meet any other day and to enjoy the night with his friends. He then proposed to meet after the hangout because he wasn't planning to stay long. I accepted and made plans of my own to meet some friends. Claudia was there, and I mentioned my later plans, so she offers to stay with me and walk to her place together when Theo arrives. Time passes, and I got no messages from Theo. Claudia invites me and some friends to keep drinking at her place, and we all say yes. I stayed a couple hours and met other roommates. At 1 a.m., I go home just to receive a message from Theo, first since 6 p.m., saying he was sorry but was too tired to meet anymore. I just said okay. Friday comes and Claudia asked me to go out with her and her cousin, Kiera, who was visiting for the weekend. We started drinking after lunch, and around 8 p.m. we went out. At 11 p.m., we were all extremely drunk. I hadn't drunk that much, but my body wasn't agreeing at all with the alcohol that day. I usually have a very high tolerance to alcohol. Kiera wanted to go home, but Claudia was still in the mood to keep partying. We lived just 1 block away from each other, so I offered to walk back with Kiera, and she took Claudia's keys, and we were on our way. This is the last thing I remember from that night. I woke up in Claudia's bed. Kiera, Claudia, and myself were there. I just went back home and saw I had texted and had a few calls with Theo. Apparently, we had met around midnight. I texted him that I was extremely confused and asked if we could talk so he could tell me what happened. Hours later, we met close to our places, and he tells me everything. When I was walking back with Kiera, I texted him to meet. He was still at the library, but would be home in 30 minutes to take a shower, and we could meet after. I didn't tell him I was already on the way to his place. When he arrived, he texted me as promised, and let me know that I could already go because he was ready. He was shocked when I came from upstairs, but realized I was really intoxicated, but was able to explain why I was there. He brought me to his bed and tried to tuck me in so I could rest, but I was truly to be intimate with him. Of course he said no because I was in no shape to consent. I got mad and wanted to leave. I pushed him away when he tried to walk me home and demanded him to leave me alone, which after a while he did, and I left the place. It was 1 a.m. at this point. He didn't tell me this part, but I figured it out because of some text with Claudia. She called me because she didn't have her keys and wanted to go back home. We met near the center and walked to her place together. She called another roommate, and he opened the door for us. Back to what Theo told me. We made some noise which woke Theo up, and he asked on the group chat what was going on. The other roommate explained Claudia had called and came with a friend. Theo then called me, and I couldn't explain why I was back there. So he just told me to go to sleep and keep it down. And that's where the story ends. I apologized immediately. I felt so mortified of my actions and completely embarrassed and ashamed of myself. This had never happened to me. I had never displayed that kind of behavior, but again, I usually can handle alcohol, so I had never been in that position before. He continued to tell me how violated he felt, that I was invading over and over again his space, that it seems like I saw him as a Southeast ex-toy because how much I was insisting to be intimate. He apologized for his behavior on Wednesday, but knowing that I was that day at his place was crossing boundaries. He also mentioned that Claudia wasn't a good friend because no respectable friend would let me be in that state. Mind you, he doesn't know her at all, so he based this in just the couple interactions they had since she moved in 8 weeks ago. And maybe he was wrong about me giving my latest behavior. The image he had of me was tainted. He said that he was already under too much pressure and going through too many things, and the last thing he needed was something like that, and asked what I wanted to do and what I wanted from us, because if I was expecting to get anything serious from us, I was doing enough to convince him to take me seriously. I saw then that I just wanted to take a step aside was the right decision for the both of us. I apologized again and hugged him goodbye. Yesterday he texted again, asking to talk and make amends, maybe see if we could be just friends, because the connection we had was something he had never experienced before. He accepted that he overreacted a little bit because it was too recent in that moment, but I also needed to regain his trust and act properly. I was torn for a moment because the connection felt like something special, can't deny that. But then I thought of his words, "Take you seriously? What you gonna do to convince me? I can't see you the same way because my perception of you has changed, like is all tainted. I know my actions that Friday were completely wrong, and being drunk is not an excuse. I should be more careful because I was lucky I got home unharmed, but we all make mistakes. I wasn't hoping or looking to be in that state. Also, I don't go out often, and if I do, I usually drink 1 or 2 beers. He knows me for over 6 months to this point, and I had never acted that way before. He knows I'm a responsible person. I study and work full-time, plus I'm starting a business with a friend, so going out is something I don't have time for. Just last month because my classes and exams were over. So the judgment and harshness of his words were unnecessary and out of proportion. I'm a person who is allowed to make mistakes, but also to learn from them. I shouldn't be defined by those mistakes. I know I'll do my best to never be in that position again, but I can't say I won't ever make a mistake again. So I just want people who are tolerant and forgiving around me, because I also am like that. I thanked him for saying he overreacted, and I said I was sorry again for the bad moments and for my actions. I apologized for invading his space and forcing myself onto him. I then proceeded to explain in more words and in deeper detail why I wasn't accepting to keep in contact anymore. I can't trust he won't act the same. Not the part where he was upset, but how he judged and criticized me. Also how easily it was for him to look at me differently, like all the time we have known each other and the time we had spent together. All those good moments meant nothing or couldn't be used in my favor. I thought he took it well, but I received another message today saying I was acting just like he did, judging him too harshly. Today I visited Claudia and Theo's best friend, who also lives there, made some snarky remarks, so I decided to leave early. I'm sure of my decision because some of the things he gave me on that conversation reminded me of my abusive ex, but hearing his best friend plus the comments on his text made me doubt. So am I wrong for deciding not to engage in any kind of relationship with Theo anymore?